My dad kicked me out of the house because I wasn't doing very good in school. Well, years later, I become very successful. All my dad cares about is my sister, because she's the engineer in the family. Well, joke's on him, because now I'm a multi-millionaire, and I decide to show up after years of being apart from my family to tell them this. I've got this burning question that's been haunting me. Is it even remotely sensible to bail on your kid just because they're not acting, good with their acing of academics? Thinking about it as you roll through this post, here we go. I'm 27 and male, and I've just received a wedding invitation from my sister. My sister, who remained tight-lipped as my father showed his absolute true colors. Clearly this means she's getting married. Nothing surprising, right? Everyone's family members get married at some point, or they do not. But hold on, this is surprising for me because I've never even knew that there was something for such an occasion to begin with. I don't even know that she was in a serious relationship to begin with. But honestly, that could be for the reason as simple as us having little to no contact in the past 9 years. Why did two siblings not interact as much in almost a decade? You'll know in a while, right? Meanwhile, as you read my post, I hope you'll have some suggestions to give me. It's been a very long time since I last met my family for a proper meeting. Yes, there indeed were some occasional greetings and sometimes even texting, but our situation has been such that you would not look at it and say, hey, now that's a healthy family. I aspire my family to be like theirs. Now, let us cut to the chase. I will describe my situation in one sentence, and then we will proceed from there. My father, Gideon, kicked me out of his house when I was still 16, because he was not at all satisfied by my academic performance. My sister's better grades just worsened my case, and something terrible took place each time my dad saw our report cards. He used to flip, as if there was some switch in him that went on and off, depending on if he had seen the latest grades or not. I can say our relationship is the most toxic relationship I've ever had in my life. It's such that sometimes I feel complete resentment for him, and sometimes I just don't feel anything at all. If he wants, even now, he can control me. But hey, I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen ever again. So let us discuss what all went wrong that made me write this post. My dad has a good college life. He was just a little dumb, as I was in high school, but picked up soon as he got into college. Sounds like redemption, right? Well, sort of, it was. That's why I felt both admiration and hatred for him. Actually, he knew how to impress people. He had this imposing figure that told you that he should have been some great political leader, instead of a mere government clerk. But he was just that. And he was incredibly proud of it. Now, I'm not saying that you should not be. After all, government jobs provide you the kind of security that others do not, but my father went beyond that, and this is why he hated me. Unlike him, I did not show any signs of getting better at studies. My grades were average at best, and I was at the margin of a passing score in calculus. It looked very bad to my father, who had taken a habit of securing his pride in his kids' achievements. Every family meeting turned into a, let us see who can insult Sebastian the most, and after that each of them would laugh so hard that the neighbor's dog would cower in fear. I'm Sebastian. It was like a competition, and the more it happened, the more I started hiding my passion, my art, and my brilliant skills at playing instruments. My sister Aurora turned out smarter than I did. She became an engineer soon, and as she finished her post-graduation. By the time I reached high school, she already had friends in the corporate field. It filled my dad with pride, and it made things worse for me. On top of it all, it proved to him that the traditional way was the only way of earning prestige and good, respectable money. So he often ridiculed my dreams. Something really bad happened when I confronted him about his rude words. I was 14 and dumb, and I told him that if he did not support my dreams as he supported my sister's, then I would intentionally fail my exams. It was a wrong move. It was during winter, and I was in my undershirt. He was angry, In anger, he locked me out of the balcony for most of the night. It was not in the full of winter, so I did have a little chance of dying with hypothermia, but the fever I pulled the next day, well, it stayed for the next 3 weeks, and after that, it was pretty common for him to physically abuse me. I was so scared of him that it never came into my mind to inform somebody about his behavior. His behavior, well, it worsened over time because he could hurt me so easily. He got obsessed with it, and in the beginning, it was over my grades. Soon he just plain hated me, and he would pick up his belt at any moment and he would hit me, anytime, and such things. One time he pushed me so hard that I hit my head on the coffee table. Thank God it was a family gathering and somebody immediately took care of me. I still think I could have died that day. After so much, I was pretty sure my father did not like me at all. He hated me for some reason. I tried to study hard, but it did not work for me. After a while, I just gave up. I realized that there's no way of making him happy and satisfied if you were not Aurora. For some time, he did not notice. I got brave then. I started sneaking into music and art practices. Sometimes I took late-night free coaching by experts, and every time he asked where I was, I just answered with the word, studying, at the library. It went on smoothly, and then Aurora found out. You would expect a sister to be more supportive, but she wasn't. She informed my father. Boy, it was bad after that. My dad literally beat me so bad that I could not come out of my bedroom for the next week. During that entire time, Aurora stood there and watched it all unfold with a grin upon her face. I knew then and there that I did not want to stay there anymore. I wanted to run. I wanted to run away somewhere safer. It was not only my father, but also my sister. They hated me, and they were not shy about making it obvious. I fully recovered in the 4th week, and by that time I had missed a lot of my classes. My school contacted my dad, and he replied that I'm suffering from some disease, but I've had enough of them. Then kicking me out happened very randomly. I had not even seen it coming. I just remember listening to them through the door as they ate their hot pizza and watched some bizarre comedy, and then my dad stumbled into my room with 2 slices of pizza. He put them on one of my books and asked me to finish it quickly. I didn't want to get beaten to a pulp again, so I did just that. As I ate, he pointed at my closet and said, you finished that crap up? Pack your stuff and get the hell out of my house? I choked on my pizza as he passed me his can of beer. Man up, get out of here. He stood there as I packed my stuff, and then when he thought I was purposely slow, he grabbed my arm and dragged me through the house. His other hand held my little bag of essentials, opening up the door and throwing my bag out, and then he shoved me out of his house. Aurora, my sister, stood at the corner watching it all with curious eyes. She didn't look sorry for me at all. She looked like she enjoyed it. So yes, this happened, and I struggled for the next 6 years. I picked up jobs in places that provided jobs to 16-year-olds. Oftentimes dangerous and exploitive, but whatever. My grandfather picked up on the news, and he took me to his place. Rewrote his inheritance, kicked my dad and my sister out of the will, and gave it all to me. Then he died. After he died, and after his funeral, I did not see any family members of mine for a very long time. The inheritance was not a lot, but it gave me a safe start. Like I could attend a legit music or art classes without the worry of getting caught. In one of the studio performances held by some college pass-outs much older than me, they picked me up. We started a band of sorts that got a little popular through TikTok, but it eventually died. But it taught me a lot. I picked up on that and started this company that now employs 111 people. Now, we perform on various occasions and sometimes even on the influencer parties or something and earn a lot of money. You would go crazy to hear how much people are willing to pay for a performance from Justin Bieber and One Direction lookalikes. LOL. We have accidentally performed for a couple celebrities. Nothing big, but very good money. In essence, I'm exactly where my father was 100% sure I would not reach.
I'm 27 and already a multimillionaire. I have a company that's doing well. What does he have except bitterness? Nothing. He could become nothing special, so he became a hater. But now things have changed a lot after I received this invitation. There was a particular name on my interest of hers. Zack Stan. But especially my friends knew that name very well, and if I'm correct about the identity of the man, then my sister's wedding is about to be the biggest banger ever. The question is, should I ruin her wedding or not? Should I show up at the wedding at all? What is the purpose of this anyways? Another way of possibly insulting me? Heck. If I would allow this to happen, I'm sure to ask some wild ideas, and I'm willing to take it all in. So hit me with your best shot. What would you do? Top comments from the original post. Comment number 1. I'm gonna be honest, I'm sort of scared of the vibes I get from you, OP. It's not anything bad, so don't worry about anything, but there's this smell of revenge coming from you, and it smells really amazing. I'd like to hear more about what is the deal with Zack. Is he trouble? Did you guys have a past? In my opinion, just do it. I mean, after everything that she has done, this only seems legit. I don't know. Comment number 2. I don't like the thought of tit for tat, but honestly, your dad and sister have it coming. The fact that your dad locked you out of the house in the winter, what kind of psychopath does that to his child? Well, studies are important, sure, but not as much as your dad made it out to be. Kicking your own kid out at 16? I'm so glad I'm not his kid. I barely passed my high school, and he beat you a lot too. Honestly, forget his reputation. Comment number 3. If only you would have just studied, and would not have made a monster out of your own father, honestly. Parents have every right to make sure their money isn't going to total waste. You're not that special. Update number 1. Oh boy, you would not believe the gem I stumbled upon in the comments of my last post. Show off. Well guys, my dear old dad may have had the lowest expectations for me, but guess what? I've surpassed them all with flying colors. But what is the one thing that could really sting him? Yep, you guessed it. Success. And of course, my occasional over-the-top in-your-face self. So naturally, I decided to rub it in a bit. I hopped into my $1 million Ferrari and made a grand entrance at the wedding, quite literally. I had a couple of buddies along for the ride armed with party poppers. Picture that spectacle for a second, rolling up hot. We caused quite a commotion, and I swear most of my family could not recognize me for the life of them. They look like a bunch of lost puppies, but did I give a damn? No. I was on a mission. I scanned the crowd until I spotted my dear old father and my sister, sporting those lovely expressions of pure disappointment and anger. Classic. Oh, you should have seen the longing in their eyes, especially when they eyed up my sweet ride. It was like they wanted to touch it, taste it. But did I indulge their desire? Nope, not a chance. As for the groom, oh man, it was practically salivating at the thought of messing up his night. My buddies were right there with me, ready to wreak havoc. They knew all the juicy details about my history with every single one of them, and they were just as eager to stir up the pot. Dad tried to strike up a conversation, but I dodged his attempt. He looked even older than I remembered, and you could tell all the wedding preparations had really worn him out. Last I heard, he had retired by choice, living off his pension. Aurora, well, she was still working at the same old company, earning some decent money, but definitely not in my league. I milked that advantage for all it's worth, believe me. You could easily hear and see 3 young people loudly complaining about the arrangements at the wedding. It drew other people's attention to the items and services as well, and the louder they got, the worse and graver my father and sister did. They frantically tried to reassure everybody about everything, but it only partially helped. For the most part, they struggled, and my sister had tears in her eyes by the time Zack came there. But was that the end of it? Of course not. But hey, was that the grand finale? No, of course not. The world just had to meet Zack. He might not have recognized me, but he sure as hell recognized my buddies. His face turned pale as a sheet. Without wasting a moment, I gave my friend the signal. And then, right in front of my dad and sister's entire entourage, we exposed little Zachary for who he truly is. Trust me, it must have not ended well for him because the drama continued. Well, let me go ahead and just drop a little knowledge on you about Zack's colorful romantic history. Aurora was not the first lady in his life. No, not by a long shot. She was not even the first one that he had tied the knot with, you see. Zack had a knack for attracting rich women, and it was never about love, my friend. No, his main squeeze was always the money. And he would go to great lengths to get it. Here's the thing. Zack had this MO where he would cozy up to wealthy women, marry them, stick around for a bit, and then make a swift exit with their cash and bling-bling whenever he felt his hand would be full. The real kicker? We only knew about this because my friend, the one I brought along to my sister's wedding, had been one of Zack's victims. The twist? They never even made it to the altar. Zack made off with everything before our friend could even suggest a wedding, and talk about modern-day con artist, right? Is not a funny thing, fate? There he was, caught red-handed right in the last place that we have ever expected, and it was almost as if the universe had a bone to pick with Aurora right there in that night. Once the drama was over, we figured our work here was done. Time to make our exit and leave them to deal with the aftermath, and a few days went by and not a peep from either of them. I was half expecting a total meltdown, or even better, a heartfelt apology or a thank you for my little intervention. But no, my family was not exactly overflowing with brilliance, so I should not have been too surprised. Out of the blue, though, they both started lurking around me like digital ghosts. Clearly on a mission to engage with me, but hey, I'm a guy with a colorful history. Was I gonna let them off the hook that easily? No, absolutely not. I was having a blast messing with their heads, and it was obvious that they were getting desperate and mad, and they sent me these angry messages where they tried to sound all polite and civil. Did I give a damn? Oh, you guessed it. Not in the slightest. It went on for a while, and then we eventually decided to meet. It was solely because my father outright sobbed on the phone. I did not know what he meant by all that, but that triggered something in me, and despite not wanting to crack in front of them, I did. It also reminded me of the past where once, just once, he had cried after hitting me particularly brutally. After that, he never did it again. Maybe I just wanted to see him cry? I don't know. Update number 2. Honestly, it was like watching a slow-motion train wreck. All my warnings and my friend's accusations, Aurora went ahead and married Zack. She was all like, I love him so much. And Zack apparently spun some masterful tale that made her forgive him, and I don't feel sorry for her. Just cringed at the secondhand embarrassment of it all. I mean, my only idea was to spill the beans at her wedding, lay out the truth for everybody to see, but guess what? She ends up sabotaging her own damn self. Fully aware of the truth. So who is to be blamed here? Certainly not me or anyone else but her, and what do you know? Just 2 weeks later, 14 days. Zack, most likely driven by fear, took off with her cash, her expensive stuff, and whatever else he could grab. Karma, I suppose, has a way of catching up, even when you see it coming from a mile out. Poetic justice at its finest. Despite her decent earnings, she blew a fortune on that lavish wedding celebration. Not just her, mind you, but also dear old father. So they not only squandered their money on a pointless spectacle, but now they were drowning in bitter feelings. They sounded like they could not stand each other, and who did they turn to when they needed a savior? Surprise, surprise, it's yours truly sitting on a pile of cash. But were they getting off the hook that easily? Oh, absolutely not. You know me by now. I've not forgotten a single thing that they've done to me. The sheer betrayal I felt from my own sister. Why on earth would I ever, with any semblance of sanity, rush to their aid? I had to be a complete fool to do that, so while they scrambled, I cooked up my own plans. Revenge, my friends. has a wonderful way of simmering slowly until it just like this. He took the classic, let's reconcile without actually admitting anything with wrongdoings. Dad suddenly had this grand plan to reconcile as if he could sweep away all the crap from childhood without even uttering a genuine apology. His favorite mantra, reconciliation. Reconciliation, reconciliation. It was painfully clear he was not sorry for what he's done. No, he was just desperate to escape his problems and get away from the mess that he had created with his daughter. Well, I was not about to play pretend. If he was not going to own up to his mistakes, then I was not going to pretend everything was suddenly hunky-dory. No, I stuck to my guns and stuck to my initial planning, teaching him a lesson he would never forget. After all, actions speak louder than empty words. The consequences of their own mess started to pile up, and when Dad came begging for money to cover the remaining payments, I shut him down without a second thought. But their troubles are far from over. The event planner and other starts from the wedding and engagement parties hounded them for their dues. Aurora could not scrape together the cash all at once, and she would have to wait for the next paycheck and then some, but who wants to play the waiting game, right? The management of these services turned up heat, threatening legal action. The fear tactic worked like a charm. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and with my financial help off the table, they had to resort to renting out half their house to a family. Slow as molasses, of course, nobody forks out a fortune on the first day. They had to wait until the month's end, and patience was never any management's strong suit. Desperation was starting to set in. As expected, they hounded me insistently, at first with calls and messages, begging for help, and I wanted them to experience what agony, anxiety I used to feel, waiting for my father's wrath after every school meeting, but eventually they frequently, of their pleas dwindle. I thought they might have figured something out. Much to my disappointment, that was not the case at all. They had gone and landed themselves in even deeper trouble, swimming in a sea of legal issues. Here's the truth. They ended up renting out the other half of Dad's house too, so the bill for the extravagant wedding was paid off, but now they had a whole new problem, finding a place to live. Without so much as a word to Dad, Aurora took out a massive loan, and I mean massive, to buy another house. And the most absurd part, it was not your run-of-the-mill bank loan, but an illegal one. Now that you're up to speed on the situation, and lo and behold, they've started ringing me up again. The drama continues, it seems, and I should be back with more information as I find it. Keep sane, people. Update number 3. So, after Aurora received her fat paycheck, Dad thought it was high time she reimbursed him for his share of the money spent on everything since her wedding. But oh, that's not all. Zack, the charming fellow, had also swiped some of Dad's prized possessions, and he wanted compensation for it. Unsurprisingly, Aurora was not exactly forthcoming with the cash. Predictably, that set Father off. He was already dealing with, knee-deep of Zack's case officially in court, and now his own daughter was adding to his troubles. Tempers flared, and they had a heated argument, and voila! Dad ended up at my doorstep homeless thanks to being kicked out by Aurora's shiny new home. Classic family drama, is it not? And ironic, definitely ironic. Having Dad crash at my place was far from ideal, especially with guests around, but I felt like I had no choice. So against my better judgment, I agreed, and I gave him a room and let him stay for a while. But surprise, surprise, he was the same old father just as I expected, and frankly, I had not anticipated any changes in him at all, and true to nothing, there was. One day, he started spewing nonsense once again, and I could not hold back. I pointed out that if he had treated his children equally, perhaps his life might have taken a better turn. But instead of owning up to his mistakes, he flipped on me. Can you believe it, the audacity? He was munching on my food when he had the nerve to say that he should have hit me more, implying that if he had of, I would not have turned him down when he first asked for my help. Utterly ridiculous, isn't it? Classic father, always blaming everyone else but himself. I have no patience left for his senseless rants, and certainly no tolerance for physical abuse. I gathered his belongings and unceremoniously kicked him out of my place, just like he had done to me years ago. I showed him the door. The way he stared at me, pleading in his eyes, I had to shut the door on his face, exactly like he did to me all those years ago. Did I feel a bit of guilt? Perhaps a sliver. But my decision was overshadowed by years of anger and resentment, and at the moment there was nothing else in my mind except the need to protect myself from his toxicity. So, I did what I had to do. Consequences be damned. I hoped kicking him out would be the end of the drama, but clearly, Father had other plans. He began stalking me and even targeting my two friends who had accompanied me to Aurora's wedding. He was hell-bent on tarnishing my name and trying to squeeze money out of my hard-earned cash. Thankfully, one of my friends had no patience for his antics. She swiftly filed a case against him and managed to secure a restraining order. Taking a cue from her, I did the same. It was time to put an end to his relentless meddling once and for all. It sounded like the situation is just spiraling out of control for both Father and Aurora. From what I've heard recently, Dad's embroiled in a nasty legal battle with Aurora over something I'm not entirely sure about. What I do know is that it's costing them both an arm and a leg, as they're sinking neck-deep into loans just to fight the case. God only knows who will come out worse off in the end. To add to Aurora's woes, she lost her job, taking too many leaves since her wedding did not sit well with her employers, and well, you know how it goes. If you cannot be reliable employees they want, you're out. Things must have gotten pretty tough for her after that, and as for whether they'll reconcile or not, Dad's attempts with me were a resounding failure. Who is to say if there will be fare any better? The future for both of them looks grim. Well, guess what? My company is on fire. We've been hitting the stage hard, scoring gigs left and right, and we even got the chance to perform for a couple of Instagram famous people. Now, I will not pretend that standards are sky high, but hey, it's all about that sweet, sweet cash. Am I right? Big thanks for all the suggestions along the way here. If I ever need more of your wisdom or have some burning questions, I will not hesitate to update. Top comments from the final post. Seriously, it's not easy to bare your soul like this. Thanks for being real, even though I still think a lot of this could have been avoided if your father knew how to raise children. Look, I'm not saying education is not important, but going to that length, for some reason I really want to know more about Zack. He sounds like a weird fellow. Why is he going around ruining lives? Did he get caught? Let us know more about that. Comment number 2. To be very honest, I wanted worse for your sister, because I had an older sister just like yours, and I absolutely ruined her life. Our case was a lot different though. But we come from a religious family, and you know, getting in trouble with your siblings in a religious family is a no-no. I told my parents about her premarital pregnancy. It was bad for her after that. LOL. I don't talk to my parents anymore because they're religious freaks, but I liked what happened to my sister. She was an idiot. Your father, on the other hand, is even worse than my dad. If I ever told my friends about this, they'd know how trash your dad is. Sorry.
So, I wonder how OP felt rolling up in that Ferrari to show everybody how he is more successful than they thought that he would have been. Guys, I do want to know your thoughts about this story. If you were in OP's position and you had to go through the exact process that OP went through, from all the torture, all the abuse, do you handle it the same way OP did? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section downstairs, guys. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories every single day. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Smash that subscribe button, but remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.